Yes. Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, whenever or wherever you're watching or listening. This is the Awesemo NHL DFS Strategy Show, and I am your host, Michael Clifford, aka Slim Cliffy. Joining me today to talk about which massive favorite we have to fade here tonight, our single entry assassin, Mr. Joshua Harris. Josh, how you doing today, buddy?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that question yet. Hopefully we'll find the answer to that question before 3 p.m. Eastern, but there are so many massive favorites in unbelievable spots tonight. This slate is, as Vots likes when I say it, it's wild.
Yeah, it is. If I'm not mistaken, I'm looking at live betting lines. 8 out of the 11 games have a favorite of at least minus 200 or larger. Now, on a slate like that, that tells me, like, when you have heavy favorites with high goal totals, that usually tells you where the ownership is going. When you have 8 massive favorites like this on an 11 game slate, like, my approach would be, I don't really care about ownership that much. Obviously, we're going to follow our leverage, and if there's like a minus 10% leverage line in our top 2 stacks, I'm not going to prioritize them. But I don't think worrying about ownership is necessarily as important as it is on most slates tonight.
Yeah, and I feel like what's more important on a slate with massive favorites is like making sure you don't like jam in like super popular filler lines with them, just because that could be a bit chalky. But going through the games, I'm not sure there's like an obvious like, oh, this line is super cheap, let's put them in with this really expensive line. So I think all in all, like, ownership's not going to be a tremendous concern tonight.
Yeah, I'm not overly concerned about ownership tonight. I imagine most are going to come in check. There are going to be a couple very obvious spots, and we'll definitely talk about those as we move along this slate. Should give a special shout out to Yahoo Fantasy. They are our sponsor and have been all season long. You'll see their banner at the top of the YouTube video. And we do have a special giveaway through Yahoo for first-time users that we'll talk about a little bit later in the show. It's a very good giveaway for first-time DFS players to kind of get their feet wet and get their legs under them. So stick around a little later if you want to get some free stuff from Yahoo. Let's talk about last night's slate real quick, because we do have that massive slate to talk about. A couple winners. Notice Chuck Dynasty dropped a screenshot. He took down the FanDuel 333 monster last night for $2,500. I had a boy, Chuck Dynasty. Nice night. And then yours and one of our friends who watches this show regularly, we call him Whiskers. He goes by you can't make money at that on Twitter. He took down the 555 for 5K on FanDuel. He's a big supporter of ours, so congrats to him, and congrats to Chuck Dynasty on taking down that 333. Really nice night by him. Dallas won. Josh, you and I talked about it a lot yesterday, where we were going to go, and we kind of settled on Dallas won. A lot of our subscribers settled on Dallas won, and as Mike, our producer, talked about before the show, Joe Pavelski really came through with a big performance.
Yeah, he Pavelski got me to the cash. I didn't have Marchand, but I had Dallas won. I had some Arizona. Arizona didn't do too much. Ryan Dzingel scored both the goals, but like Toronto didn't do anything. So like I got the shots and the blocks from Ghost enough to drag my sorry lineup into min cash. But you needed Dallas one or Marchand, really. Like Bergeron had a pretty good game. Craig Smith was all right. Boston 2 didn't do anything. So like there was a pretty thin path to the cash, but congratulations to all the winners last night.
I actually did well too. Went a little over 3x, and I'll take that on a single entry on any given slate. Let's get a move on here. We do have a lot of games to talk about. Before we get to those games, if you guys could please throw us a thumbs up and click the subscribe button. Those likes and subscribes really help us look good for our bosses, and the road to 420,000 subscribers continues. Be sure to click that bell if you want to get alerts when we do go live, and we have free premium tools and data up on the site as we do almost every day. Today being no exception. We have NBA main slate ownership projections, and we have our NHL player rankings all up on the site, all for free. So even if you're not an Awesemo subscriber, you can get a little bit of a boost on your research, whether NBA or NHL tonight. Just head on over to awesemo.com and check those out, and check out Votz's Power Plays article. I think it was published not too long ago. So head to awesemo.com. Lots of free stuff to help you out with your bets and your fantasy lineups tonight. All right, let's get to this first game. Philly 2.2 implied goal total. They're going into Boston. Boston has a 3.8 implied goal total. Boston played last night and beat the brakes off the Habs. I don't think that was a shock to anybody. I think what might be a shock to some people is the pricing on the Boston Bruins today. Claude Giroux is back for Philly, and I think that's a pretty big deal for them, because you and I talked the last time the Flyers were out. They really didn't have a center with Giroux and Couturier hurt and Hayes playing the way he is. Giroux being back at least gives them a good scoring line for Boston to contend with. What do you see here, Josh?
Yeah, well, that scoring line is probably not going to be in play tonight because they're going to get the Bergeron matchup. And even with Craig Smith there, their numbers are really, really good defensively. So not too much interest in that Drew line. And, you know, there's a ton of big dogs, and Philly's one of them tonight. But that second line of Van Riemsdyk, Hayes, Konechny might be in play here a little bit. There's absolutely no ownership on them. You know, Hall, and Pasternak, say that 5 times fast, has been a pretty good line. But, you know, they're not Bergeron. And, like, Tuukka Rask was on the couch last week, and now he's starting for the Bruins. Like,
that's the thing that's catching me in this game is Tuukka Rask had hip surgery in June, I believe, hasn't played a game, has a few practices in the AHL, and now is just stepping right into NHL action. Like, that's an 8-month layoff with a hip surgery. That seems significant for a goalie.
Yeah, like, I didn't even know Tuukka was planning on coming back. I thought he retired. Like, and then last week he's practicing, and today he's starting for the Bruins. Now, the Hayes connecting Van Riemsdyk line has a very small sample together, but, you know, the numbers are reasonable. They're pretty high event. But, you know, if you're going to attack anything on the Bruins, it's not going to be Bergeron. So if anything on the Flyer side, I think JVR, Hayes, Konechny is fine. The price is fine. You know, Boston's on a back-to-back. It is Tuukka and net. And you just don't know what to expect from Tuukka. Like, wow, I got excited there. You can tell me he's going to give up 7 goals on 21 shots, and I'll say, sure. And you can tell me he's going to have a 37 save shutout, and I'll say, yeah, that could happen. Like, we just don't know. So Philly 2 for me. I do really like Boston. Again, there's just a lot of big favorites. Boston, pretty high ownership considering all the spots. So Boston 1 is fine. I think I would prefer Boston 2 as a filler. Pasternak 7K is not really a filler price, but Hall's price has come down. You know, you get Hall and Halla for the same price as Pasternak, so they're 14K to full stack. They get, you know, Hayes, who I just said that line is pretty high event. So Boston 2 for me, Flyers 2 for me. If you want to stack Boston 1, I think that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, I think I would probably go to Boston 1 in this instance. It's just, you know, even with Giroux back, he has had some time off. Surely there's going to be a little bit of rust there. And Boston's top line, I don't even know what to say. 68% shot share in 80 minutes together. It's just absolutely bananas how good they are. So you're on Boston 2. I kind of like Boston 1 a little bit better. I also think Philly 1 makes a decent stack because the Boston penalty kill hasn't really been that great of late. Like middle of the pack with Joel Farabee and Claude Giroux on the power play. I think, you know, they can be had. So in your 150s, I think you can get Philly 1 in. I do like Boston 1. On the blue line, there's not really anybody that sticks out to me, honestly, on either side here. I guess, you know, Cam York running the power play for 2,800 definitely makes sense, given Boston's mediocre penalty kill. Anybody else stick out to you?
I mean, Charlie McAvoy is down under 5K. So if you're playing Boston 1, you can, you know, put in McAvoy. You want to play Grizzlick for 3,400. Mike Riley, I guess, is even a fine punt, or Brandon Carlo. But, like, none of these guys are just jumping off the page like, oh, if I'm going to punt, this is the guy. So, you know, if you land on one of those guys, it's fine. But I'm not, you know, super excited about anybody on either side.
Yeah, me neither. So good enough. We'll just get to this next game then. Vancouver, 2.2 implied goal total. They're going into Tampa. The Bolts have a 3.7 implied goal total. Andre Palat looks like he's going to be out for Tampa tonight with Matthew Joseph taking his spot on the top line. Somebody in our Discord asked like how significant it is to lose Palat and add Joseph there. Like, I definitely think it is a downgrade, but it's Point and Kucherov that power that line. Like, let's get that straight. It's not Andre Palat doing the heavy lifting between those three. So I think Tampa won. Definitely still in play for me in this matchup. Why don't you tell us what you like on the Tampa side? Because obviously a lot of people like Tampa here tonight. And then tell us if there's anything you like with Vancouver.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a matchup on Vancouver that really worries me defensively. Like Podkolzin, Miller, Besser, not rarely. Dickinson, Horvat, Garland. They're maybe 9 feet tall combined. Like Tanner Pearson, Elias Pettersson, Hoglander. No. So like even Matthias Joseph there, it's fine because the prices on Point and Kucherov have come way up since Kucherov came back, and Joseph's min price. Even if he just like comes along for the ride and donks an assist, I think that's perfectly fine. And we've talked about how these teams come off really long layoffs and get lit up. Like the Canucks got lit up by the Panthers, and now they don't get any reprieve against the Lightning. Kucherov's coming off a hat trick. I definitely think Tampa 1's in play. If you want to go down to Tampa 2, that's fine. Like we talked about on the last show, how they haven't been generating much. They haven't been great. And then they follow that up with having a very big game. Like Tampa 2 was optimal. But like the point remains, they haven't been that great together. But if you want to go to them, that's perfectly fine. Like they have a 3.7 total. They're playing the Canucks. So, but for me, I prefer Tampa 1. You want a Tampa power play stack that's also in play for me. On the Canucks side, I don't know if there's much, I think, with the price drop on Besser, I think Miller Besser would probably be where I'd go. Other than that, there really just isn't anything. These line combinations aren't great. So if I'm going to get to any Canucks, it's probably going to be Miller Besser.
Yeah, Miller Besser and Podkolzin, like, I don't think they'd be very good defensively. As you mentioned, they are high event, but I think fine offensively, and that definitely brings them into play in this matchup. It's just, playing Vancouver, you're going into Tampa, facing Vasilevsky, a very good penalty kill. Like Tampa has one of the best penalty kills in the league, and they only take they've only been taking like 2 or 3 penalties a game for their last 5 or 6 weeks. So like how hot, Vancouver is a team that really does rely on the power play for success. So for at least fantasy success. So like, I don't think there's anything from Vancouver I'm going to get to here tonight. On the Tampa side, I'm going to wait to see what our ownerships look like, but I probably will just go right back to that top line. Like, I know the price on Kucherov has come up from 6,000 to 7,500. Yeah, it probably should be about 8,500. So I think Tampa 1, especially with that 2,500 winger, I think they're just fine here tonight. So Tampa 1 for me, nothing from the Vancouver side. On the blue line, Tyler Myers, I think, is definitely in play here. His price has come down a few $100s. 3,600 is a lot more palatable. I know OEL, Oliver Ekman-Larsson's all the way down to 3,300, but man, he's just not doing anything. He's not shooting. He's not blocking shots. He's just there. He's a 7 million Mikey Anderson. It's awful. Not much for D out of this game. What do you think?
McDonough's out, so I don't mind one of Chernak or Sergachev, just because the third pair is Bogosian Foot. Like the top 2 pairs are going to play extra minutes. So I think Sergachev or Chernak are fine, but you can obviously correlate Hedman, but that's really about it.
I see a couple super chats I have to get to. The first one from Dave Jones. Dave, thank you very much for the $5 super chat. I appreciate that. What is your favorite team stack on FanDuel? Boston 1 or Philly 1? Like we just went through it. I think Boston 1 is definitely just fine in play here. Just because they're coming in, their ownership is just fine, and it is a good matchup. If you want to get wildly different, I do think Philly 1 is in play, but like I'm not sure I would play them in a single entry or something like that. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, to get to Philly 1 in single entry would be a bit crazy, but like I've done crazier, but I would much prefer to play Philly 1 if I was making 20 to 150.
Yeah, I agree with that. The more lineups you play, the more likely I would be to play them one lineup. I don't think so. And a super chat from Chuck Dynasty talked about him taking down the 333 monster on FanDuel last night. He says, no question, just appreciate the active Discord. Yeah, I like the Discord too. I mean, yesterday we spent, just us and our subscribers, we spent like 2 hours talking about like cash game strategies and how to approach bankroll management and stuff like that. We'll spend an entire day talking about movies, and then the next day we'll spend an entire day talking about bankroll management and stuff like that.
I need to start talking about how to regrow the lettuce on my head because it's a sad scene up there.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll save that for the weekend or something like that. Let's get to this next game. Thank you very much for the super chat, Chuck, and thank you very much, Dave. We really appreciate your guys' support here on the channel. Let's get to this next game. 2.4 for Columbus, 3.8 for Carolina. They're playing in Carolina. Seth Jarvis is on the top line for the Hurricanes with Sebastian Aho and Teuvo Teravainen. On the Columbus side, Elvis Merzlikins is back in net. He hasn't played in a few weeks, at least a couple weeks. He hasn't played in January. I know that. Well, I'm pretty sure. I shouldn't say I know that. And Jakub Voracek on the COVID list. That got announced this afternoon. They said Alex Tessier was going to get called up from the taxi squad, but obviously we don't have lines because they didn't go through their lines with morning skate. And the Columbus beat writers have been pretty bad about providing lines at warmups, and they're on the road here tonight. I'm not sure we're going to get a Columbus lineup before locks. So, and that, I mean, it's 2.4 total, so it's not that big of a deal, but I just don't like having that gap of information. What do you see in this game, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to assume line A, Jenner, Nyquist is going to be together.
Yeah.
I think that's a fair assumption. After that, your guess is as good as mine.
Like maybe Chinnikov. I know he's moved up at times.
Sillinger, Chinnikov with Bjorkstrand, maybe. And then maybe Roslovic, Domi, Tessier. That'd be. But I don't know how much Blue Jackets I'm gonna be getting to tonight. This is more of a Carolina game here. There's no really bad matchup for Carolina here. I like going against line A just because that line is just, they generate a lot, but they give up more than they generate. So I would assume Trocheck, Svechnikov, Fost is going to get that matchup. I think that line is fine. Like I normally like attacking line A, and I think you can do it with Trocheck, Svechnikov, Fost. I think that's fine. But my favorite line of the night from this game is Teravainen, Aho, Jarvis. Aho, just kind of like we just talked about with Tampa, like Aho Teravainen is pretty expensive, but Jarvis is almost min price. He sees secondary power play time. He's not some third wheel. Like he's a highly touted prospect.
I think with like top 6 minutes all year, he'd be in the Calder conversation for rookie of the year up there with Trevor Zegras. Yeah. And I mean that.
There you go. So like you're not getting Dryden Hunt up there with Aho and Teravainen. You're getting like a bona fide first round pick here. So that line with Jarvis there makes it super cheap. It doesn't matter. Like if it's Bjorkstrand, Sillinger, Chinnikov, like that line isn't great defensively. And after that, there just isn't anything there that scares you. So I think from this game, that's my favorite line. And then like Niederreiter, Stahl, Netchus is interesting to me just because Stahl's almost been priced. Niederreiter and Netchus are power play too. And they're going to get depth matchups of the Jackets. And there just isn't much there. So like, I don't even mind dipping all the way down there. They're not much cheaper than Svechnikov, Trocheck, Fast, but I would assume they're going to come in lower owned. But anyway, like my favorite line in this game and probably my top 3 on this slate is the Aho line. Not too much from Columbus for me.
Yeah, I'm glad it's the Aho line for me. And like I'll say I do like Carolina too here as well. They've been very good this year, like 55%, over 55% shot and scoring chance share. Going into, like you said, the middle of that Columbus lineup, there's just not a whole lot there, especially with Jakub Voracek missing. So honestly, I think either the top 2 Carolina lines are both firmly in play for me here. I will lean towards the top line because I think Seth Jarvis might be a little bit underrated just because he's only been playing 12, 13 minutes a game for most of the season. Like I think he's a sniper. I think he's good. So yeah, Carolina 1 for me. I mean, Aho and Jarvis, like they've been generating, like they've played together this year, right? Like at times, like, and they've been generating a lot, like fringe 59, 60% shot and scoring chance share. So like, I think they're going to do some damage here. Carolina won for me. On the blue line, I don't know if there's really a lot that I like here in this particular game. Like Vladislav Gavrikov, obviously, I think makes a lot of sense at min price. Like he seems like a block bonus threat here tonight. Tony DeAngelo at 5,700. That feels expensive for a guy that really only dishes assists on the power play and nothing else. What do you think?
Yeah, and I know Columbus has been taking a bit more penalties lately, but they're still in the bottom half of the NHL of, time shorthanded. So if you want to correlate Tony D, I think that's fine, but there really isn't anybody on the Carolina side that I want to get in my lineup. Gavrikov is just, for min price, he always, gets value for you. So I think he's perfectly fine. That's really about it. Jake Bean down to 2,700, but he's down on the third pair. Minutes are concerned.
Yeah. Not a big fan of Jake Bean here tonight either. I agree with that. All right, let's move this along a little bit. Super Wildcard Weekend is almost here. When did it get changed to Super Wildcard Weekend? Is that a real thing in the NFL?
I try not to pay attention with the marketing in the NFL. They're just absolute. What a product they are. That's all I'll say. What a product.
It just feels like 1992 Super Nintendo when they just started throwing super in front of everything.
Yeah.
It was different from the regular Nintendo. Anyways.
Rebranding.
Super Wildcard Weekend.
Super Wildcard. It's super now because there's another team that makes the playoffs.
There's plenties of Super Wildcard Weekend is here, and that means plenty of opportunities to take down a big NFL showdown or single game GPP through Monday, January 17th. That's 4 days from now. Our NFL Express weekly pass will only be $1 when you use the promo code SUPERWILD at checkout. That's SUPERWILD, all caps, all one word, to activate a $1 NFL Express weekly pass. And that'll give you access to our player and ownership rankings for all the NFL slates and everything we have to offer for showdown and single game contests, including our player projections, ownership projections, and our top plays tool. Again, that's super wild at checkout, or you can simply click the link in the description of the video below to activate that promo code. Stop guessing, start winning. Join Awesemo Plus today. If you are taking in some NFL this weekend and you want to throw down maybe some DFS lineups, I mean, $1 for an Express weekly pass, it really doesn't get any better than that. See what we're all about. And if you don't like it, it costs you about 25% of a cup of coffee these days. So come check us out. I think you'll really appreciate what we have to offer. Let's move it along. Winnipeg, 3.0 implied goal total. They're going into Detroit. The Red Wings have a 2.6 implied goal total. There's some news from Winnipeg here. Cole Perfidi, probably their number one prospect, is called up. He looked like he was going to play with Pierre-Luc Dubois and Kyle Connor, but now Winnipeg says that Paul Stastny is on the COVID list, and there could be some changes coming to that top. I mean, there has to be changes coming to the top six because Paul Stastny is now out, but we're not going to get that information. If we're lucky, we're going to get that information in about 3 or 4 hours time. If not, we're not going to get it before lock. So seems like kind of a tough situation here. On the other side, Dylan Larkin, game time decision for Detroit. That also feels like pretty big, pretty important news. So what do you think of this game, Josh?
So Larkin being back would be interesting because Detroit goes out against the depth at home. And with the injuries to Winnipeg, there isn't much depth there. Now, Larkin is 7,800 on DraftKings, and that line hasn't been great recently, but I would imagine they're going to be pretty low owned. Because if you look at the ownership on the other side, right now we're projecting Connor and Dubois over 25%. Now, will Cole Perfidi be there? I honestly don't think so. Because if you try to read between the lines here, I think they want to leave Evgeny Svechnikov up there with Connor and Dubois. So
that's kind of what I'm getting here.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
So I feel like the second line is going to be Kopp, Scheifele, and Perfetti.
Yeah.
Which is still interesting to me because that line is going to get like the Suter-Zadina matchup. And that matchup is very good for Winnipeg here. Listen, the Winnipeg top six is in an unbelievably good spot tonight. So the problem is, the Red Wings are the only team that gets flexed to 7:30 in the history of NHL. So like, it's not like a normal 7 p.m. lock. So we're not going to get news until right after lock. So the good news is, as it is, Svechnikov min price, Perfetti min price, Jansen Harkins min price. So it's not like you're going to have to scramble to free up some salary to get that guy in. Like, so the wingers at least are 2,500. The problem is Kopp Scheifele, pretty cheap. Like, they're cheaper than Connor Dubois. So going up from Scheifele, Kopp to Dubois, Connor, you're going to have a swap ready. Regardless, I'm assuming Evgeny Svechnikov is going to be with Connor Dubois, and they're probably going to get the Rasmussen-Ernie Nemestikov matchup, I guess. So, I mean, that's their quote-unquote shutdown line. They don't really shut anything down. So, I'm fine with either of the top 6 in Winnipeg. I just want to see lines. I kind of want to play whichever line Cole Perfetti's on. So there's that. And if Larkin's in, I think overpriced Detroit 1 against Winnipeg definitely makes for an interesting play.
Yeah, I mean, it would be nice to get confirmation on Larkin, and maybe we'll get that from a beat writer a little bit earlier, because I would love that Detroit top line. Like you said, they would be going against that Winnipeg depth. And the Winnipeg's 3rd and 4th lines with the injuries, they're moving all the guys to the top 6 as it is to try to balance out that lineup. So yeah, I would have interest in Detroit 1 if we get some sort of confirmation on Dylan Larkin before lock. But if we don't get confirmation on him until lock, there's just not a whole lot that we could do about that, right? So
unless you have a late starting lineup that you want to swap
you're gonna have to look for a swap in the later games. So Detroit 1 pending Larkin's return. On the Winnipeg side, I would play Kopp, Scheifele, Perfetti as well. I really do like Cole Perfetti. I know people have asked what Cole Perfetti's what he's like as a player. He's not very fast, and that might seem like a problem in the NHL, but he has great hands and I think a great like puck IQ vision type thing. And I think that's more important for a player than just being fast. Ask Michael Grabner. You can't just be, he had a good career. I don't want to bag on Grabner, but
he's like 1 for 398 career on breakaways.
Right. But he was a good player, but to take that next step, to be another level, you have to be able to think the game, and being able to think the game is very important. I think Perfetti can do that, but again, we just don't know where he's going to play. So ostensibly I like Scheifele and Perfetti, and I like the Larkin line. We just don't know if they're actually going to be line combinations right now. So not a whole lot else in this game for me. Even on the blue line, I guess Josh Morrissey might be in play for me here. He's been playing like 21, 22 minutes of late, and Brendan Dillon is going to be out of the lineup tonight. So that should be more shutdown minutes for Morrissey, don't you think?
Yep, I like Morrissey at his price, 3,900. Dylan DeMello at min price up there on the top pair is interesting because he will probably fill that shot blocking role. And I just need to say that Declan Chisholm, that's not a real name. Like, do better, Winnipeg, with your artificial intelligent players coming up. Like, I have no idea who that is. That can't be a real person. On the wing side, no interest on the blue line.
Yeah, nothing for me either. I do like Nedeljkovic in net. He's relatively cheap. Winnipeg's going to carry some ownership. So Nedeljkovic definitely in play for me in net. All right. Let's get to this next game. This one is a dandy. 2.3 implied goal total for New Jersey going into New York. The Islanders have a 3.4 implied goal total. Now, if you're wondering who the New York Islanders are, they're a hockey team in the National Hockey League. It's just that they've only played 2 games in the last month, like 4 weeks. And they haven't played, and those 2 games were right around New Year's. They haven't played in 12 days. So 2 games in 4 weeks and no games in almost 2 full weeks. And yet here they are with a 3.4 implied goal total at home to New Jersey. And that's because New Jersey's going through their injuries as well. Dougie Hamilton out of the lineup, Damon Severson out of the lineup. They're missing a couple middle 6 wingers as well. Like, there's a reason why New Jersey's total is where it is. I don't know where you want to take this game, Josh. I'm just going to put it in your hands, man.
Like, okay, Mackenzie Blackwood's in protocol, so John Gillies is in net for the Devils, and he is not very good. Now, there are a ton of low road totals today, Devils being one of them. But even before the Islanders haven't played 2 games in the past like 30 days. They have not been great defensively. And Jack Hughes has been playing like a man possessed. So I think from a low ownership, low total road perspective, Hughes to Tar makes some sense to me. They're 10K for the two of them. It's not overly crazy. It doesn't really matter what the matchup is. Like, this isn't the Islanders team from a few years ago that just like had great goaltending and great defense, and their defensive numbers are just not very good. They're still banged up a little bit. So I think Hughes, Tatar, Sharangovich, if it is Sharangovich, definitely makes some sense as line for me as, you know, one of these road lines in a small total. Now, you go to the Islanders side and 3.4 total, and you're like, where is this coming from? Like, who's going to score? Like, I don't mind the top line. I just like Josh Bailey does nothing for me. So if you want to do like a Barzal Lee, Noah Dobson 3-man, I think that's fine. You know, I think if you're going to full stack anything, I don't mind the second line of Bellows, Nelson Beauvillier. Nelson Beauvillier have good historical numbers together. Kiefer Bellows is almost min-price. He shares the second power play with Nelson. So, like, the Devils are pretty banged up. They have, you know, an AHL goalie in there. So, you know, that line is pretty cheap. They're like 11-4 to full stack. There's a 3.4 total. They're not, you know, that's not like other lines besides Barzal and Lee are going to have to score to get to that total. So I think going to Islanders 2 here makes some sense. But honestly, like, my favorite line in this game is Hughes, Tatar, Sharangovich.
So I'm going to talk about the Islanders here because they were what attracted me initially. That Islanders top line, like, the rest of the lineup has been bad, and that we should highlight that. Jean-Gabriel, I looked it up earlier, Jean-Gabriel Pageau and Anthony Beauvillier, who you would think it would be a good shutdown duo, like 42% shot share on the season. And then I looked to see, you know, maybe it was just a bad start. Remember, they started the season like 13 games on the road or something like that. It's like, no, over the last 6 weeks, it's like 44% shot share. Like, they're just bad. Like, that's all it is. They're just bad. So, like, I think that Islanders second line might be going into New Jersey 1 because their last couple home games, they were sending out Pageau and Beauvillier against top lines. And if you're going to put out a 43% line against Jack Hughes, I am going to go with that line. So, yeah, I agree with you. I like Hughes, Sharangovich on the top line here tonight with Tatar, fairly cheap, coming in with good leverage by their top stacks tool. You don't need a lot of them, you know, 5 to 10%, I think would be more than enough as a filler stack. I like New Jersey 1 here. I do like the Islanders top line on the flip side. They've been really good over that stretch. The second line has been bad. The top line, 56% shot share, 61% of the scoring chances over their last 6 weeks. I think both top lines definitely in play for me here in this game. If you ask me, just pick one line, irrespective of price, I would probably go to New Jersey just because I want to get them at 1% ownership as opposed to 8 or 9% from the Islanders. But I like them both. On the blue line, Ryan Graves probably makes a lot of sense here for New Jersey. He's cheap, and with all those defensemen missing, I'm assuming he's going to be playing 23, 24, 25 minutes. So Ryan Graves for me on the New Jersey side. On the Islanders side, back to the Noah Dobson trade?
Yeah. And then on the Devils, if you want to punt, Siegenthaler, is that his name? Jonas S., we'll call him, as Jake would say. Actually, very good defensive numbers. He's been blocking a bunch of shots. I don't mind him as a punt.
Yep, I agree with exactly that. We have partnered with Yahoo Fantasy this NHL season to bring you some great offers. Check out our exclusive limited time offer, which gets you 1 free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. To qualify, you need to be new to Yahoo, sign up for an account via the link below, deposit, and play. That's it. Yahoo will send us your name after you've played in your first paid contest, and we will reach out via email with your coupon. If you need immediate access, email support@awesemo.com and we'll get you set up right away. You can also claim a free $10 of site credit by clicking the link in the video description below. That can be used to enter any Yahoo contest, including the $5,000 NHL Baller here tonight and this weekend's $500,000 NFL wildcard Ballers on Saturday and Sunday. Make sure to use our DFS tools and projections designed specifically for Yahoo to give yourself the best shot at winning big. All right, let's get through these games. We got 6 games left to get through. First one, Seattle going into St. Louis. Seattle has a 2.4 implied goal total. St. Louis sitting at 3.5. Seattle is on a back-to-back. They just got their brains beaten last night by Dallas. That means probably Chris Driedger in net. Not like it matters. They're both just absolute fish net standing there. St. Louis going with Ivan Barbashev and Pavel Buchnevich on the top line with Ryan O'Reilly. They look very expensive. The second line, Jordan Kyrou is skating with Robert Thomas and Brandon Saad. They're going into the depth from Seattle. I'm just going to ask you straight up, is there any forward combination from Seattle that you're interested in? If not, just move right along St. Louis.
I actually don't mind Seattle one here. McCann, Eberle, Marcus Johansson. I don't know. I'm not a big believer in the Blues tonight. I don't know why.
I mean,
McCann has been very good offensively.
Billy Husso is starting and not Jordan Binnington. So that is a downgrade in net.
Yeah. I mean, McCann has been awful defensively for Seattle. I don't understand why, but like he's also been very good offensively. So I don't mind getting to a little bit of Seattle one, but that's really about it. On the Blues side, Ryan O'Reilly, Ivan Barbashev, Buchnevich just seem too expensive for me. Like there's other spots that I'd rather play for similar pricing. So, I mean, in MME, they might be very low owned. It could be a sneaky little 3-man. It just feels awful, plugging them in. Same with Saad, Thomas, Kyrou. Like Kyrou's been great recently. 6,600, I guess, is fair. But Robert Thomas, 5,800 seems overpriced. Saad at 4,500 seems overpriced. So like I feel like with all these big home totals and home favorites and all this and that, like the Blues are going to go overlooked, and it's from a price standpoint. So if you want to get them in MME, I think you're going to get them at pretty low ownership. So like I'm not a huge fan of these line combinations, so I guess that's part of it too. So you want to use St. Louis one, I guess that's fine. I think if I was going to stack either of them, it'd be St. Louis two, just because they're a little bit cheaper. Kyrou has been their best player of late. Tarasenko's still out. I just, at the price, I think I'm going to look elsewhere.
I just can't believe that price on St. Louis. Robert Thomas, like the guy isn't even averaging 2 shots a game over his last 10 games, and he's priced at nearly $6,000. Like I'm looking at his game logs. I think he might have paid off a 5,800 price tag twice this year in 30 games.
Yeah.
Maybe twice. It could be once. I'm just doing mental math in my head here. Like it's weird how they're priced here. I don't really understand, and that's why you're seeing such low ownership on them. It's because the pricing is absurd, but like you said, that's probably why they're going to get overlooked. So I think if I were to do anything on the St. Louis side, I would stack the wingers on the second line and just leave Robert Thomas off, because like the chances of Robert Thomas putting up like a 25 DK performance here tonight or something, I mean, saying that I just locked him in for a 25 DK performance, but like the chances of him doing that just seem very, very slim given his player profile. Like 3 assists like would be pushing it. And you know what I mean? And he's done that once this year. So
3
like
assists with no shots, and the bonus on DK is 18 DraftKings points.
Yeah, and that's fine value for that's good value for GPP 3x, but it's not great. And he's done that once this year. Like, what are we even talking about? So on the second line, I will definitely be going with Kyrou and Saad as like a little 2-man. Nothing for me for Seattle. On the blue line, I don't know, man. With no Colton Parayko, I feel like Justin Falk probably has to play a lot of minutes. I might go back to the Oleksiak on the other side. What do you think?
I'm in agreement with you. That's literally about it.
Yeah, I'm not playing Chris Driedger. Are you playing Chris Driedger?
Absolutely not.
Okay, perfect. Let's not bring that up again. Buffalo, 2.1 implied goal total going into Nashville. The Predators have a 3.9 implied goal total. I think there's a lot of big news here. We'll start with the Buffalo side. Buffalo is just running out of goaltenders. They have Aaron Dell in net, who at this point would probably be like 4th on their depth chart, and his backup would be even further down the depth chart than that. So that's probably why you're seeing Nashville with such a high total. Not to mention Tage Thompson out for the Sabres. On the Nashville side, they're saying Philip Forsberg could be a possibility for tonight. Now, he would have to come right off the COVID list and right into a game with no practice, no nothing. I guess that's possible. And, if there's a team to do it against, it would be this particular iteration of the Buffalo Sabres. That would throw a wrench in things, but we're not going to find out probably for a few hours yet, Josh. So what do you think here?
Yeah, as it stands, Eli Tolvanen is going to be on that top line with Granlund Duchesne on power play 1, and that makes them very cheap and very in play. Nashville almost has a 4 total, despite Forsberg currently being projected out. So there isn't a matchup on Buffalo that scares me. I really like Nashville 1. Surprise, surprise, surprise. With Tolvanen there, they are going to be owned, though, just because he is so much cheaper than Forsberg. Will be interesting to see if we get Forsberg news somewhere near lock, because if he is announced back in, I think that will drop the ownership a great deal on Nashville 1 just because Forsberg's price. But as it stands, I like Nashville 1. Nashville 2, actually, don't mind it. I don't know if you need to do it. Like Nick Cousins, Rijo Cunnin, I think Luke Cunnin one-off is fine. And then on the Buffalo side, no.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I kind of want to get behind some Buffalo 1 just because Nashville's penalty kill is just so bad.
And Alex Tuck is, he's pretty reasonably priced.
Yeah, but it's just Dylan Cousins, Jeff Skinner, Alex Tuck getting that Granlund Duchesne Tolvanen matchup 5-on-5. We have to rely on the Predators taking penalties and then Dylan Cousins, Alex Tuck, and Jeff Skinner scoring. If I was making 150, I definitely have some in 20. Maybe I have 1 at 20, but other than that, I don't think I'm gonna have Sabres.
Yeah, I'll just say nothing from the Sabres for me. If the reason being, I don't see them with a top 6 center right now. You're playing bottom 6 centers in top 6 roles, and for me, I think that just makes for bad line combinations. And I know that's just what they have to do. That's it's injuries and COVID and all that, but that's what's keeping me away from them. On the Nashville side, I do really like the top line, Tolvanen, Granlund, Duchesne. I'm not so much on Cousins and Johansson. Cousins and Johansson just haven't been that good this year. In their sample together, I think it's only 40 minutes, but well under 50% shot share. And I'm not too sure that Luke Cunnin is gonna right that ship. So Nashville 2 is fine, but I honestly think it's Nashville 3 that I'd have a little bit more interest in. Tanner Jeannot, especially Tanner Jeannot as a one-off. He's just been shooting, he's just been scoring, and they're getting the Buffalo 3rd and 4th lines. There's absolutely nothing there. So maybe a one-off Jeannot, but I also do like Nashville 1. On the blue line, one thing I noticed was I think all the prices for all the Predators defensemen came up. That's a little bit of a problem, especially when you're staring down the barrel of an 8K Roman Josi. That is steep. I guess it's better with, Forsberg out. It's a little bit more palatable, but is there anybody else that would stick out to you besides that 8K Josi?
Not really. I see a super chat from Niehaus. Niehaus, man. I can't think of a good question to ask today. #Fabro Elite. If you want to play Dante Fabro, go for it. I'm going to go Josi or bust on the Predator side. Not much. I guess Robert Hagg on the Buffalo side if you need some shot blocks, but I'd rather go Gavrikov.
Yeah, Hagg would be the guy for the block bonus. He's back in the lineup for Buffalo here tonight. Thanks for the super chat, Niehaus. Appreciate that. I'm not sure about Fabro Elite, but hey, if he is, you'll probably make a fair bit of change here tonight. Let's get to this next game. Montreal, 2.3 implied goal total. They're going into Chicago. The Blackhawks have a 3.3 implied goal total. I don't know the last time I saw Chicago Blackhawks this year with a 3.3 implied goal total. Montreal played last night. Jake Allen hurt. They called up Caden Primo. They haven't said if they're going to start Montembeault or not. It doesn't matter if it's Montembeault and Primo. They're interchangeable to me. Should note in the game last night, Montreal moved Pizzetta up to the second line in Joel Armia's place, and he stayed there, I think, for the second half of the game. I don't think that makes a big difference, but it's just something to mention. Looks like obviously no Seth Jones again. for Chicago. He's on the COVID list. Eric Gustafsson back in the lineup for the Blackhawks, running the second power play unit, I think. What do you got here, Josh?
Like, I don't even know what I got here. Like, this game is just ridiculous. Let me start with Montreal. I guess maybe Montreal won. Arturi Lehkonen, 3K. Like, Chicago is just terrible. Montreal also terrible. Someone's going to have to score in this game. You've been on the Arturi Lehkonen train since 2009, but like, seriously, like, you dropped some charts on him in the Discord. Like, he's having a great season considering who he's been playing with. So I think, moving up with Hoffman and Suzuki, like, that line coming in under 1% right now is not bad, actually, because like, who on the Blackhawks is going to stop them? Not that Suzuki, Hoffman, and Lehkonen are unstoppable, but like, there just isn't anything there.
I could see that line being better than any line Chicago puts together tonight.
So like, this game, what a scene. So like, Montreal won in play for me. Hoffman, Hoffman at 5,800 may be a tough pill to swallow, but like, the Blackhawks penalty kill, awful. Go look at Hoffman's power play numbers over his career. It's one of the most ridiculous stats you'll ever see in your life. Like, the dude just shoots more than anybody in the history of the NHL on the power play. So like, I think Montreal one's fine. On the Blackhawks side, I'm not full stacking anything. Taves is questionable. He's a game time decision that they're expecting him to play. So I guess if he's in, DeBrincat, Taves, Kubalik makes some sense. But I think like, for me, I just stick to like Kane, DeBrincat 2-mans, or like Taves, Kubalik 2-mans, just guys that, like, Kane will just end up playing with everybody, just how it is. But like, so Chicago 2 for me, Montreal 1, some Kane with a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But I'm not super excited about playing Blackhawks despite how good the matchup is.
Yeah, I will say flat out, I'm not super excited about either side in this game, just in general. Especially where Chicago called up Lucas Reichel and Dylan Strome looks like he's going to be out. Like, there's going to be some changes to that Chicago top 6. And we don't really know what they're going to be. I'm assuming Taves, DeBrincat, Kubalik stays together, but I don't know if there's been a Chicago line that stayed together longer than 5 games this entire season. So like, I hope they stay together, but we don't really know if they will. Yeah, it is Lehkonen that interests me. Here's a little factoid for you of all the active players on the Montreal roster. He leads them in shot rate, like leads them like no one else, not Caulfield, not Hoffman. It's Arturi Lehkonen. So yeah, I do like that Montreal top line, 2-man Hoffman, Lehkonen or something like that. If you want to leave off Suzuki, I think that's just fine. I think just playing Hoffman for that power play exposure or against that awful Chicago penalty, like bottom 3 penalty kill in the league, I think it's just fine as well. So Montreal top line for me. I do like the Taves line, Taves, Kubalik, DeBrincat. They've been good together, but we just don't know if that's going to be a line. So yeah, if you're going to use them, you do have to have a swap ready for later on. So just keep that in mind. On the blue line, the Montreal defensemen don't really interest me a whole lot. And like Savard and Sherratt, I think, are just too expensive. Anybody stick out to you? I would say Eric Gustafsson running the top power play for Chicago interests me. Anybody else?
Yeah, that's about it. Gustafsson, DeHaan, Murphy are up above 4K now after the last game, and they played 20-something minutes. So I think it's just going to be Gustafsson for me.
All right, good enough. Get access to all the great Awesemo Plus tools and content for nearly every DFS sport out there with an Awesemo Plus weekly pass for $29.95. This includes full access to all the premium content and tools on Awesemo.com, including player projections, ownership projections, our premium Slack channel, our Discord, and a whole lot premium Slack channel. Our premium Discord channel, our lineup builder, and a whole lot more. If you're a new user of Awesemo Plus Platinum, then you can take advantage of the promo code we have for this show, which is NHL Strategy Show, all capital letters, all one word, NHL Strategy Show for 25% off your first week of Awesemo Plus Platinum. You can find the link to activate this coupon in the description of the video below. Of course, if you're only looking to play NHL DFS, then you can sign up for one of our Awesemo Plus NHL packages for as low as $3.95 a week. Stop guessing, start winning, join Awesemo Plus today. That's NHL Strategy Show, all capital letters, all one word, 25% off your first week of Awesemo Plus Platinum. We have a few more games to get through. We have about 8 minutes to get through them. If you guys could, before we get out of here, throw us a thumbs up, throw us a subscribe if you haven't already. Click the bell so you get alerts whenever we do go live. And once again, would like to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, Yahoo Fantasy. If you're a first-time DFS or first-time Yahoo player, check out the promo we have for them in the description below. All right, let's get to this final batch of games. Ottawa, 2.3 implied goal total going into Calgary. Calgary has a 3.7 implied goal total. Like the Islanders, Ottawa just hasn't played in the last month. They have not played a game in 12 days, and they played one game in 4 weeks. One game in 4 weeks. And they're going into Calgary, without Tim Stützle. I don't know, man. Seems like pretty obvious spot where we're going here. What do you think?
Yeah, lock button Senators one. How expensive are they going into Calgary? They haven't played in a month. They're like almost 20K. Like, what are we doing here?
I mean, they were doing real well, like right before their pause. It's just, yeah, they haven't played it forever.
I almost forgot that they're in the league. Thanks, Eugene. But anyway, Calgary. What Calgary does at home, they've been sending out Backlund, Coleman, Pitlick against the top comp. So they're going to get Norris, Batherson, Kachuk. And then after that, on the Sun side, there's just nothing there. So like Gaudreau, Lindholm, and the other Kachuk, just going to get depth matchups from the Sens. And, they should just tear through them right now. Like we talked about it, like these teams coming off long breaks they're just getting wrecked. And we saw the Senators have like a COVID break not too long ago, and they came back and got wrecked. So Calgary won, probably one of my favorite spots of the night. I'm interested to see ownership later in the day. As it is right now, I'm fine with their current ownership, fully correlated. They're just a good team. They're a very good line. They have a long history together. They're getting an elite matchup. Matt Murray, I forgot, was still on the Senators. So like Stars, this almost feels like if it's too good to be true, it might actually, it's not real. But like this is a really good spot for Calgary here tonight. I also like the Calgary third line, Mangiapane, Dubé, and Ritchie. If you want to leave off Ritchie, that's fine. Two-man Dubé, Mangiapane, I think is perfectly fine. Not too much on the Senators side. I will save my boy Alex Formenton for another day.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to play some Ottawa one, they're one of the best leverage spots on the entire slate. It's just, I don't want to play them at 20K coming off a 2-week layoff. You know what I mean? If other people want to do that, go right ahead. But they're at 47% shot share, 46% of the expected goals in their sample this year. That's probably going to get run over by a Calgary top line here tonight that is rested and ready to go. So I'm with you. I love Calgary one. So Mangiapane one off for me as well. Well, I think Calgary too, definitely in play as well. Backlund, Coleman, a little two-man. They're coming in relatively high owned, but I mean, if you just have a Coleman one off or Backlund, Coleman two-man, that's not going to kill. That's nothing to worry about for duplications. On the blue line, Oliver Shillington before this little break for Calgary had been shooting quite a bit. I do like Oliver Shillington. Jacob Bernard Docker on the other side for Ottawa, he's a rookie top prospect coming in for them. I mean, a prospect defenseman for the Ottawa Senators. I think I would probably just rather play the Zoob at 3,100. What do you think?
Agreed. I do like Shillington as well. If you want to correlate Anderson, I guess that's fine. He doesn't really do too much for me. He doesn't shoot, but yeah, Shillington or Zoob.
All right. Pittsburgh, 2.9 implied goal total. They're going to Los Angeles. The Kings have a 2.7 implied goal total. I'm at a loss for what to do with this game because I do like the Pittsburgh top line here, but the Kings top line has been very, very good over their last 5 or 6 weeks. And then I kind of like that Kings second line, but Pittsburgh's second line looked pretty good in their last game out. So what do you think here, Josh?
Yeah, the Kings penalty kill, not very good though. So it's an interesting spot because Pittsburgh one here is almost 23K on DK, but they're coming in super low owned. They're fully correlated. It's interesting just because, the Kopitar Iafale Kempe line has been very good. Now, in one lineup, it's going to be an interesting decision. I don't know if I'm going to get there. In 20, definitely am getting there. In 150, definitely getting there. One lineup, it's going to be a decision. Like they're definitely in the mix for me. Now, if you want to get to that second line, Carter Malcolm Kapanen, I think that's fine. But like, go look at the numbers on LA too. Like they're just out of control, And Philip Deneau, Arvidsson's only 8,500 for the two of them. Arvidsson gets that top power play time. Deneau, like I know Malcolm, Carter, Kapanen look good, but like I just can't see that line being good defensively long term. So couple that with the numbers on LA2. I think LA2 I really like. I'm a bit surprised at the ownership on the Kings top line going into that Crosby matchup. I'm just out on the Kings top line. So for me, LA2, and I'm going to have an interesting decision to make in my one lineup tonight about Pitt 1. Definitely in the mix.
Yeah, just LA2, bring it up real quick. 105 shot attempts per 60 minutes over the last 50 minutes in their sample. I've never seen that before in a 5-on-5 sample over 50 minutes. I've never seen 100 shot attempts. That's just absolutely patently absurd. So I do like Los Angeles 2, and I'm with you on Pittsburgh 1 as well. I will have them in my 20 mix. Whether they get in, we'll see, but they will definitely be in consideration for me. One game to get to. We do have some more shows coming up later. The Jock Market NFL Wildcard Show coming up in 30 minutes, and they're followed by the live best ball draft show at 4:00 Eastern, and then your normal NBA double dose starting at 5:30 Eastern. Final game, Rangers 2.9 implied goal total going into San Jose. The Sharks sitting at a 2.6. Can't believe it. Alex Barabanov no longer on the top line. Miracles do happen. Dreams do come true. Do not ever give up. Do not stop believing in yourself. Rudolph Balcers back on the top line with Timo Meier and Thomas Hertl. I'm going to say straight out, that's the line that I'm going with. 59% shot share, 73% of the scoring chances in their sample together, Balcers and Meier. I can't imagine Hertl's going to hurt them. The Rangers top line has seen their defensive numbers slip a little bit of late. And Igor Shesterkin was taken off the COVID list, but he hasn't practiced yet. So I assume Georgiev is just going to start here tonight. So yeah, San Jose 1 for me. What do you like?
I'm in agreement there. I will say I do like San Jose 2, Dahlin, Couture, Gregor, just because the line of Panarin, Strome, Lafreniere last game had an expected goal for percentage of like 26%. And that was against the Ducks. Like they were just awful. So I think, as a filler, San Jose 2 is in play, but favorite line from this game is San Jose 1. Don't mind a little bit Rangers 1. But, they're terrible 5-on-5. So like, I guess if you're going to do like anything, it'd be like Zibanejad, Kreider, Fox for some power play.
Yeah, I do like the Rangers here. I just think that San Jose at home with Balcers back on that top line, I think it's going to make a big difference. So San Jose 1 for me. If anything, I would probably play Rangers 2, cheap Panarin, cheap Strome going into that San Jose second line. So San Jose 1, Rangers 2, but I love the San Jose top line the most out of this game. And I do like Jacob Trouba on the blue line, cheap defense.
Okay. Jake says that second Strome Panarin was against LA2. That's why they got ran over.
Yeah, that makes sense.
There you go. Thanks, Jake.
Do like a cheap Jacob Trouba on the blue line, and we do like Jake Harry here at Awesemo.com as well. All right, we got to get out of here. We took up enough time. Josh, I'm going to ask you for your hat trick picks and your goalies here for today. My hat trick pick is Teuvo Teravainen, and my goalies are Ilya Sorokin, Tristan Jarry, Alex Nedeljkovic. Who you got?
Yeah, let's see if I can find some. I like Connor Hellebuck, especially if Larkin's out. Nedeljkovic is fine. Merzlikins, if you want to get a spicy shot volume pick there. And I think my hat trick pick is going to be, we are scrolling. It's going to be Eeli Tolvanen.
All right, there you go. Eeli Tolvanen, Teuvo Teravainen, your hat trick picks for tonight. We got to get out of here. Don't forget the Jock Market NFL Wildcard Show coming up in 30 minutes. For producer Mike, for Josh, I'm Slim Cliffy saying good luck tonight, everybody, and we'll see you again on Saturday morning.